how did you find MrBeast? At what point did you sign him? What's the story there? Because I think, that was probably, now it's looking back, you're like, oh my gosh, that was a really big moment for you. But like, how did you find MrBeast?
Yeah, I didn't find him at all. I actually, and this is how I met Preston. This is how I met Andre. Everyone's been through a mutual introduction, right? So it's the same thing with Jimmy. I had a friend, Jobless Garrett, who's actually doing incredibly well on Twitch and YouTube, plays like Grand Theft Auto and different games. But this was in January of 2018. He like sent me a Twitter DM and he's like, yo, I have this creator that I think you should meet. I just had a conversation with him a few days ago. He's small. I remember him saying this. He's small. Jimmy had like 1.8 million subs, but that was like small. But he's like, I think he has massive potential to be one of the biggest creators on the platform. And at that time, I was like, okay, hold on, like biggest creator on the platform. Like, let's calm down here. And then I started checking out his channel, and I watched him, watch It's Everyday Bro for 12 hours or 24 hours and count to 100,000. And I think the one thing that stood out to me was like, he actually I could tell he loved it, right? I could tell he loved making videos. He was doing it for a long time. But I still hadn't met him. So Jobless Garrett was like, hey, I'll just put you in a Twitter DM. And that's how we met. Jimmy and I actually had a weird moment about 4 months ago where we like went back to the first DM. We were like scrolling back and we're like, man, remember that? Like early 2018, like what a simpler time. And so that's like how I met Jimpy was on Twitter. We got on the phone a couple days later, kind of spoke to me about, his business at the time was like him, Chris, and an editor who was a good friend of his. It was really small, and his mom was helping a lot, and she still does to this day, with everything. And so it was an interesting conversation I had with him because he had this vision of where he wanted to be at the end of the year. And he kept telling me, he's like, I'm going to blow up this year. I'm going to be at 10 million subs by the end of 2018. And I just kept going like, yeah, sure, man, sure. And he's like, no, I'm going to blow up. Like, I understand how YouTube works. He's like, I've been studying it for the past year. He's like, I'm not going to say I cracked the code, but I've figured out why videos get suggested. And I thought he was crazy, but I was like, listen, I'm willing to help. You seem like a good dude. Like, let's get to know each other a little bit better over the next few months. I met his mother. We all kind of got along. And that's how the relationship started. We ended up working with Honey. He had a Quid sponsorship deal at the time. So he was promoting Quid for some of his videos. We ended up doing a Honey deal not long after that. And that's how it all began.